Hiya, welcome to my Compound Life. This is a channel where we build assets, we build habits, and we build freedom. And that should really be financial freedom, time freedom for you and I and every viewers that watches my channel. Okay, so if you haven't already done so, please hit the like, hit subscribe. Right now, I'm still very low in my subscribers count. I'm currently on 40th, so I really appreciate if you can just hit the like, hit subscribes, and let me know in the comments who you are. Call out for a train 1983. Thank you for being a subscriber. You left me a comment. I think you are my 37 subscribers, so thank you very much. Okay, so this is another episode of Bitcoin update for today. At the price of at the time of recording right now, Bitcoin price is at around 86,800. Yeah, not great, but not too bad either compared to last week. So in terms of the fear and greed index, we are currently at 25. Yesterday we were also at 25 too. Yeah, so not too much of a change, but certainly in comparison to a week before, we were, in extreme fear versus now we're only in the fear zone. So not too much of a change. However, we do see some improvement. Okay, so I'll cover in terms of what are some of the signals that are signaling that things are improving, such as the RSI, in just a moment. So Bitcoin ETF update as of yesterday, the 23rd of December, that's the Tuesday, Bitcoin ETF was an outflow of 188 million. Okay, so for the past 1, 2, 3, 4 business days, it was all bearish. Okay, so let's take a quick look in terms of weekly. So far, Monday and Tuesday, I think we'll only have one more day for today. Then it will be, the market will be closed. So far for Monday and Tuesday for this week, Bitcoin only received, it's mainly outflow. So a total of 330 million worth of outflow. Okay, so compared to last week, it was also bearish, 497 million outflow. But definitely, looking through the weekly chart, it does seem the number of outflow in terms of dollars, they are reducing. Essentially means less buy, but also less selling off. Okay, so we hope things will change in the year 2026, which is only a couple of days away. And sorry, forgotten to say that. Happy Christmas Eve, guys. Hope you guys are spending good time with your friends and families and not looking at the chart too much. Okay. A little bit on Ethereum, the ETH ETF. So far on the 23rd of December, yesterday, it was also an outflow, so bearish, about $95 million worth of outflow. Okay, essentially cancel out any of the positive inflow on Monday, which was about $84 million inflow. Essentially, I think that was BitMine's Tom Lee's company buying. So Monday, Tom Lee gone in to buy. Tom Lee, BitMine gone in to buy 84 million, and immediately immediately pump the ETH price a little bit, and immediately the next day people were like, oh man, time to get out, time to get out. So people actually bought, well, people actually sold $95 million worth of, you know, outflow for Ethereum. So not good for Ethereum either. In terms of weekly performance, so far with 2 days worth of ETH ETF data, we are seeing this week Ethereum's outflow of $11 million. Okay, so in comparison to last week, it was $643 million worth of outflow. Okay, so hopefully, I think it will be a lot more less, because whoever wants to sell, whoever need to sell, they already sold weeks ahead before, you know, Christmas. So essentially just expect this few more days, you know, with a lot less trading, and whoever needs to sell, they already sold and move on, you know, already went on holiday, etc. So yeah, this is the situation. But at least looking at this week's ETH outflow, I don't think it would be anything as big as last week of 643 million outflow, versus so far this week is only about 10 million. Is it 10 million? Maybe I haven't updated chart. Let me update it again. Okay, maybe the data is not up to date, because I think on Monday and Tuesday, oh no, I think it's updated, because Monday it was inflow. Yeah, inflow. Tom Lee bought majority of that 84 million worth of inflow, and then followed by the Tuesday, that was a 95 million outflow. Okay, so for Solana sold ETF, on the 23rd of December, yesterday, it was also positive inflow of 4.2 million. For the week, for this week, so far have received about 7.47 million inflow. Okay, so bullish for Sol. But having said that, I think this week we'll have less trading hours ahead. I think it will be half a day today, followed by half a day on the 26th. No, I don't think it's open on the 26th. Yeah, I don't think it's open on the 26th. So half a day today, and essentially that's it. So so far, Sol is doing 7.47 million worth of inflow for this week. Last week was around 66 million inflow. The week before was around 37.2 million worth of inflow. And so far, I think for Solana ETF, it has all been positive. So good for Sol. Okay. Let's move on. So a bit of Bitcoin price action so far. Right now, Bitcoin is trading at around 86,700 the time of recording. So it has been fluctuating between, you know, 86,500 to about 87,800 in the past 24 hours. Went down a small, maybe 1.5% to about 2.5%. Of course, starting from around 89,000. So hitting a high near 88,500 and low around 87,000, I believe. Yeah, 87,000. Yeah. So the market feels quiet and slow because of Christmas holiday for obvious reason. So I think you guys also check your chart a lot more less too, right? Because surely you guys have to do a lot of Christmas shopping and so forth, and And to be honest, driving out to the grocery market, it's a hell. So if you haven't already done so, please leave early, do your Christmas shopping early. That's all I can suggest and recommend. Of course, no big jumps or whatsoever in the past 24 hours. But of course, Bitcoin was at an all-time high of 126,000 in October. We are still down by about 30%. It's kind of like, we're stuck in this box between 85 to 90,000. It cannot quite break out. So personally, only got one more day until Christmas, right? So no anticipation, right, at all of a center rally at any time soon. Okay, so that's my take. So looking at the price action, right? So I kind of felt short term it's neutral, but getting very near to bearish. Small drops shows kind of weak buy every few, every 15 minutes, every 1 hour. If you kind of like scan through the chart, it's getting weaker and weaker. And of course, fear make more sell if no good news come, right? So, but of course, I'm still long-term bullish on Bitcoin, but just the short-term price action right now, it's pretty depressing looking at it. So I recommend not to look at your chart, go do some shopping instead. So now let's look at news that will impact Bitcoin price. Okay, that's very important. So the US GDP growth data came out. So this is a macro news, like US economy report card shows super strong. So US Q3 GDP came in at 4.3%, and people expect around 3.3%. Okay, so give you guys a little bit more background. GDP means how much economy grows for the quarter. So high numbers show business is good, business is progressing, it's growing, and people are spending more money, right? And why it matters. Strong economy mean less chance of bad times like recession ahead, okay? Which good for risk things like Bitcoin. However, right, it also means there might not be a rate cut next month, because Jerome Powell will be looking at this data and he'll be like, you know what, we won't get into recession, business are doing good, people are spending more money, and potentially there would be some sort of inflation because people have money to spend, right? So they'll be buying more goods and demand will outstrip supply, right? So there might not be a rate cut next month, or he may also treat this as a signal to say that, hey, let's do less quantitative easing for 2026 because the economy is coming back. Of course, I still believe that this matters for Bitcoin because in the past, high GDP make short-term small drops, about 4 to 5%, because people take profits, but then pumps higher the Bitcoin price. At times of announcement on the 23rd December, that's the afternoon in our time, I think, Bitcoin was steady, but no big moves. Okay, so I think there will be price implication, short-term bearish, maybe small correction, like, post-announcement correction. Long-term should be neutral to bullish, because good economy is hinting to people like you and I to be less fear of going into a recession, hinting to us to go out, spend more. Well, at least hinting to the people, the viewers in the US to go out and spend more, right? And very likely people, apart from spending more in the restaurants or whatever, right, they whatever extra that they have, they might be buying Bitcoin too, right? So it's definitely also good for Bitcoin in the longer run, okay? But just expect some short-term adjustment for the Bitcoin price that can go to the low. But of course, all of this still comes down to whether there will be more interest rate cut next year and whether there will be more infinite amount of QE, stealth QE, whatever you guys like to call it, or stealth money printing coming in next year. That will move Bitcoin price, okay? Another thing that's impacting Bitcoin price is global liquidity is all-time high. Well, it does seem all-time high right now. So China pumps approximately 1 trillion yuan every week. That's equivalent to USD around $139 billion. That's a lot, right? So give you context how much US Fed is printing versus China. So China essentially is printing around $139 billion, whereas US Fed, it's printing about $30 billion last week, right? So one is 139 on a weekly basis. The US is about $30 billion last week. So Japan printed around $114 billion stimulus, and India is also printing at around $30 billion. So all this make global money supply hit new all-time high. Okay, so a bit of background. Liquidity means more money floating around from banks and governments, okay? And usually when more money gets printed or injected, it flows into asset like stocks and Bitcoin, and essentially helping to push the price higher up. But of course, it doesn't mean it comes the next day, right? It needs to find its way back down to, to assets, stocks, shares, Bitcoin, right? So it will take time. It will lag. It will take time. And then eventually it will come to us sometime next year, okay? So there are a lot of speculation that maybe towards end of Q1 or end of Q2, but we will see, okay? So history show high liquidity makes Bitcoin boom like past bull runs. So no specific time pump today, but overall it's very positive. So I would just call it's kind of like signaling a short-term bullish news. So maybe have some price movement for Bitcoin, but definitely longer term bullishness, because essentially it can help set us up for a major Bitcoin dead cat bounce. I'm still calling it dead cat bounce as opposed to a rally for 2026. Let me know your thoughts. Drop in the comments. Do you expect a rally for 2026? A rally that get us past the recent all-time high of 126,000 back in October? Or do you just anticipate a dead cat bounce? Because personally speaking, I only expect a dead cat bounce, and probably that dead cat bounce not going to go beyond 126K, right? I'm not calling FUD here. I'm not being bearish, right? I'm just trying to think of a realistic projection. So let me know your thoughts. Drop a comment. Another news, gold and silver definitely went on a banana zone, or you like to call it an insane pump. Okay, so gold hit new high over 4,450 per ounce. Silver also insane pump for 2025. So a bit of background, gold and silver are old safe money when economy, when people are afraid of the economy. So people buy them instead of risk asset like the Tesla stocks, the Nvidia stocks, the Mag 7, right? So it does seem gold and silver, have essentially replaced altcoins, and now they're outperforming crypto and Bitcoin. A little bit like, your grandma holding gold, silver. Essentially, it beats Ethereum holders for 4 years, right? Money now in gold and silver, for sure, right? This is where we're seeing bigger market caps, heaps of liquidity going into it, but sooner or later, right? Sooner or later, I think there's a viewer with a question, similar comment, which I'll address later towards the end of the video, right? So sooner or later, we do anticipate it will rotate back into crypto when risk is back on. And for risk to get back on, definitely, the global liquidity needs to come back down into, risk on assets and so forth. So yeah, I think short term, it's still bearish for Bitcoin because the mind share has been taken away, guys. No one wants Bitcoin, they want gold, right? Gold as the traditional form of store of value, as opposed to the digital form of store of value. So yeah, I think for now, bearish for Bitcoin, but longer term, I do hope the rotation can give us a very, very good dead cat bounce for Bitcoin, at least. Other interesting news section that I want to cover today, Florida pension buy. So Florida state pension, Florida in the US, state pension fund buys $47 million worth of MicroStrategy stock, which obviously MicroStrategy, the company, runs by Michael Saylor. They hold Bitcoins because they're a Bitcoin treasury company, right? So yesterday, I think I've also covered similar story in the US where the New Jersey pension fund bought $16 million worth of strategy stocks, MSTR, which holds Bitcoin. Okay, so pension fund is big money for workers, retirees, etc. Now they buy indirect Bitcoin through MSTR. So it's good. It's good for MSTR holders. Woohoo! I'm an MSTR holder too. It's good for Bitcoin. Woohoo! I'm into Bitcoin too, right? So it's good all in all. And why it matters, right? Why you guys need to know about this, because more and more US states, it seems, are stacking Bitcoin. Like it's like a growing trend, and there will be more demands for Bitcoin because MicroStrategy will have to issue more shares and at the same time buy more Bitcoin to cover that too, right? So more big buy means demand is going up, right? Demand for buying is going up. And we all know that how scarce it is for Bitcoin. And usually for pension funds to buy Bitcoin also indicate one important thing will be less sell pressure, right? Especially when it comes for pension funds, they will hold and buy more for many, many years to come, as they know the CAGR return for Bitcoin, it's tremendous. It's great, specifically perfect for pension funds, right? So the earlier that they can get in, they can enjoy the CAGR and pay out more in the future, right? Of course, knowing that it's a pension fund, you also need to take into consideration of portfolio rebalancing, right? So very likely in the pension fund, they may have some strict rules to say that within the pension funds, we will not hold more than 10% or 15% of Bitcoin, okay? Or Bitcoin related proxies, right? So definitely whenever it goes up, they will rebalance, right? So this is why constantly we get into that discussion of Bitcoin may not get an all-time high, because you're not dealing with retail investors like you and me anymore, right? It's all institution, it's all pension funds and so forth. Every now and then, every quarter, every year, end of year, they will have to rebalance, right? So December, we are seeing a huge sell-off. It does seem a lot of it is to do with rebalancing, right? So take note of that, and have certain expectation that 4 years Bitcoin cycle definitely comes to an end in a way that you will not see a parabolic move or a blow off top for Bitcoin, right? I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong on this one. Yeah, I'm just managing everyone's expectation. Well, I'm helping myself to explain to myself why there's no blow off top here. So give me some credit on that. But anyway, that's the kind of things that you need to anticipate. Another thing to call out will be Bitcoin RSI is very low right now. Bitcoin RSI hit very low last time this happened. Bitcoin pump approximately 1,000%, guys. So I'm not saying it will happen again, but Bitcoin sure looks about or might have a breakout soon. Okay, so just a matter of whether it goes up or down. Okay, I hope it will go up. So a bit of background: RSI, relative strength index, is a chart tool to show if asset is overbuy or oversell. Okay, so low means cheap time. Bitcoin is at a very cheap rate right now. That indicator essentially will attract a lot more buyers to enter into Bitcoin. So history show low RSI starts big up movements for Bitcoin. It signals maybe bottom is near or ready to go parabolic. Or to me, it's just a small dead cat bounce. So on social media, what you'll be seeing will be, you are essentially seeing a lot of people posting charts that screams, buy the dip, we're gonna rocket soon, we're gonna go Valhalla soon. So be extremely careful on that kind of messages on social media. Pay attention on the 50 days moving average. Look through it on the daily chart, see the 50 days moving average. We need to hold there, right? So essentially we need to hold at around 94 to 95,000 USD per Bitcoin. If we can hold there, then yes, we can expect more upwards moving trends. But if it's just a bounce going to 94, 95 and immediately drops back, right? Essentially that means, we will not be seeing any all-time high any soon, even for next year. Okay, so this kind of also explains the Bitcoin capitulation is high right now. So there's a chart called Bitcoin capitulation metrics. Hit new all-time high last time is up about 50%, right? So capitulation means weak hands selling out for strong hands, right? So weak hands, retail investors like you and I, we're selling our Bitcoin to the institutions, okay? And the institutions can last a long time because they have got plenty of money to burn, right? So take note of that before you start selling a Bitcoin. So high metric shows pain around about to end or have ended. I hope it have ended, and it will rebound soon, and definitely another signals for a lot of traders, investors to enter back into Bitcoin. Another news about open doors accepting Bitcoin. So for the rest of the people in the UK, open door, it's kind of like a right move in the US. that buy and sell houses fast online, right? So a bit like Rightmove. So Rightmove, you can't buy and sell houses, right? But open doors you can, because Rightmove is just kind of like a aggregator platform that shows all of the houses from the different estate agents in the UK. So it's very, very different. But open door accept Bitcoin. So $7 billion real estate company Open Door will accept Bitcoin for buy homes, people to buy homes directly with Bitcoin. It's great because this is another great showcase to show real world adoption for Bitcoin. In a way, it makes Bitcoin a lot more useful money, and may potentially attract more holders, right? Because they want to make purchase of the property, they have to buy Bitcoin, right? So they have to sell their US dollars, their fiat currency into buying Bitcoin. But I still would argue, for many of you that hodl Bitcoin, now you can buy a house, BTC through Bitcoin. It's actually a dream come true, but I would still suggest maybe to look into the possibility of getting a loan against your Bitcoin instead of giving away Bitcoin for your properties. Well, at least in the UK, you're better off paying back loans with slightly higher interest rate than paying for a massive capital gain tax to the HMRC in the UK, right? So that would be my thinking. Another news, Arthur Hayes price call. Okay, so I've actually put together a video yesterday that talks extensively about Tom Lee and Arthur Hayes Bitcoin price prediction, and I reckon you all should check that out, right? So go search for that. Arthur Hayes says Bitcoin to 250,000 in the next 8 days. That's very provocative, right? It's very bold, provocative, and I seriously doubt that will happen. We've only got a few more days left for 2025. Let's just be realistic. Of course, Arthur Hayes, a lot of people respect him because he was a big trader. He was the founder of BitMEX, I think an exchange. He did multiple calls on the Bitcoin top as well as Bitcoin bottom, right? So a lot of respect on that gentleman. However, I just don't anticipate that to be the reality. So check out the other video and you get more out from there too. So overall summary, past 24 hours, down small for Bitcoin to around 86,700 now. Well, I think so it's a quiet holiday period, but macro like GDP strong and liquidity high. It's kind of like a good sign, but not enough to get us to the center rally, or not enough to make us start a very strong 2026, or maybe until much later in Q1 in 2026 that we can actually see such news implication to be applied onto Bitcoin. So hands up, let me know who in the viewers still think Santa Rally will come. We've got one more day to Christmas. Let me know who you are. Okay, so let's come into the viewers question now. A train 1983, again, thanks for being my subscriber. Thank you. So he obviously left me a few comments. I'm just going to quickly go through it. I have tens of thousands waiting for this. So he's got a US flag sign, so assuming he's got tens of thousands waiting, so that's fantastic. That's fantastic. A train 1983, because next year I think would be a very, very key period to re-enter into Bitcoin when we get into the bear market, right? So I've already sold all my assets now into USDC, patiently waiting. Very good, right? I'm doing the same thing too. I'm trying to liquidate as much as possible, especially my underperforming altcoins bags. Every time when I get the opportunity, I'll liquidate more. And that's what we need to be prepared. Be prepared for the next cycle. I think be prepared. That's the most important thing right now, right? So if you haven't already done so, if you haven't already been able to cash out, you know what, just reevaluate your portfolio to ensure that you actually have some money set aside so that you can capitalize on that when we're going through the bear market. To me, the bear market is a blessing. I'm a long-term guy. Absolutely. This is why. Thank you for following me. Thank you for being my 37th subscriber. I think you are. And yeah, essentially that's what I try to tell every one of you, to be the long-term guy and invest for the longer term. So that's why I'm into Bitcoin. That's why I'm into other assets too, like properties, real estate, and so forth. I want BTC to come down to 55K so I can capitalize on the dip. Absolutely. I'm waiting for that too. I just want to do this with you now. A train 1983. Japan carry trade is going to wreck the markets in the coming months with more rate hikes, in my own opinion. So many people are going to bleed out, in my own opinion. So anyone also think there could be more rate hike coming, drop a comment, let me know, because I think that's bad, very bad if there'll be more rate hike coming. But I do also think that QE from the US, the stealth quantitative easing, the stealth money printing, may well just cancel some of this effect too, right? So leave a comment here, guys, and let me know who you are, who else have similar feeling on that too. Tom Lee is a snake. Well, you have to do what's on the contract, right? So obviously I call out, what's in Tom Lee's contract with BitMine in yesterday's video. So go check that out if you haven't already done so. I think a train 1983 actually watches my video from yesterday, so that's why he posted such comment. But put yourself in Tom Lee's shoe. I think we will essentially have to do the same too, to get on CNBC and talk about Bitcoin going to the moon, Bitcoin going to Valhalla, Ethereum go to the moon, Ethereum goes to Valhalla too, right? So that's why we need to be careful on who we listen to, right? So this is why you need to subscribe to me, hit the like, hit subscribe, become my 41 to 45th or 50th subscribers, and drop a comment and let me know who you are, okay? Another viewer left a comment a day ago. Thais NDJA. Hi Thais NDJA, good to see you here. Gold is just dinosaurs lacking education. Absolutely, mate. If you go from Bitcoin into gold and silver, you're just chasing bags. You want the fiat. Yep, I feel you, mate. That is not how money is made. Money is made in the trenches. Staying with a system and buying Bitcoin at discount, which is right now. Absolutely in agreement. Thais and DJA. Let silver and gold get there, win this year. They have been consolidating and buying for years while watching others, including us, win. Don't chase the run. Okay, so yes, in full agreement, there's only Bitcoin and nothing else. All assets will go to zero when paired with Bitcoin, just depends on how fast. But I also believe certain assets will always outperform Bitcoin in regards to short-term gain, just all depends when you enter or the price on your entry, right? So it's basically, so my channel, it's, well, specific video section, it's for Bitcoin daily for this channel, but I would not ignore other asset that will outperform Bitcoin in the short term, right? Because, you know, sometimes we deploy our capital for the short term, sometimes we deploy for the longer term, a little bit like me holding a hodl bag for Bitcoin for the long term, as well as a swing bag for Bitcoin, so that I can, you know, do short-term trading and profits from it, right? So that's something I continue to follow, and which continue to work out for me quite well, so that, you know, I can start to slightly retire early and still have enough income coming from my properties and from my buy low sell high for Bitcoin, right? So I have similar point of view for timing, for gold and silver. Indeed, don't chase the run, right? So I'm not gonna get into gold or silver anytime soon. Absolutely great advice there. But I think it's similar to any other assets too, right? Even for Bitcoin, even for Ethereum, even for altcoins, even for your tech stocks, your Max 7 and so forth, right? You might as well just wait, but monitor the assets, watch the asset, and see whether it, you know, it drops. So wait for the next drawdown for the next best entry. Okay, so that's it for today, guys. It's the 24th of December. Have a good Christmas Eve, and hit the like, hit subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll see you on the next video. Okay, bye.